Also, jump in here. It also has a tempo button where you can increase the tempo of the voice, slow the voice down. It has a volume button where you can increase the volume, lower the volume. And it also has outlets for sip and puff and for paddles. We provide the headset with every unit. Paddles are separate, but and obviously a sip and puff, the boater would have that with them. And then it has that's where, like, if you're paraplegic and you use a tube to blow in, you would navigate. We have the auto mark also.
The secrecy of that ballot's still intact. So if you ever find a poll worker, need to come over and possibly assist that voter. They might be a little confused here. I can say, you know what, you overvoted the governor's race. And you can either accept it as is, or if you want to return to correct your ballot, you can go ahead and do that.
The poll worker would have to come up to the voter and look at his or her ballot and say there's an overvote in the presidential race.
Not necessarily the ballot, you look on the screen, because it's going to tell you, it's beeping, now it's going to say, I have an overvote in this particular contest. Okay?
A poll worker's not necessary.
No,
exactly.
Needed.
Exactly.
But, as you know, the poll worker would be there if the voter said, hey, this thing's beeping, what do I do?
I need a new ballot.
Yes, right.
What is this number of voters?
That is the number of ballots cast in this particular election. So if we go ahead, let's just say, you know what, I told the folks that I'm going to vote for them, I'm going to accept that ballot as is. Now that increments by one. So number.
So at the end of the night, they could go against the signature book, say I've got 100 signatures, and that would show $100 cast. That'd be a way to
That is where we
rectify.
put our zeros report at the beginning of the day, and then our totals report at the end of the night. And that's race by race, candidate by candidate, precinct by precinct.
Does this have a memory card?
It has a flash card where we burn during the process, and we put all ballot cells on.
And this uses a PCMCI card. The DS200 now uses a USB thumb drive. Okay, kind of newer technology.
It's dangerous.
Any issues with that, voter will feed it through.
More available.
Okay, this is actually set up for undervotes. Not necessarily you have to, not necessarily inform the voter of an undervote. But here again, we mentioned the 12-inch screen. Nice big font for the voter. We also have the ability to list, as Todd mentioned, each and every race that there was an issue right there, where obviously we had a lot less room on our previous products, as you know, and our other vendors have very similar to the M100.
Craig, you might want to point out how our system holds the ballot in the throat of the unit, protecting the voter's privacy.
Right.
While they're making that decision.
Yeah, anytime, obviously, if there's any issue with the ballot, you know, the poll worker or the voter, you know, it is still held inside the unit. Obviously, these both sit up on ballot boxes, so they're not spitting. We don't have a guy catching it like Todd in the back on election night, but these set up on ballot boxes. But the integrity of that ballot, of how it's actually voted, is intact and held in the back of that unit until they make a decision to accept or return.
With the M100s, where does the ballot go into a ballot box?
Yes.
It's affixed to it?
Yes.
And the big differentiator is going to be, as you notice, since that's got a small display, and then you come up with the first contest, we're going to have the ability to take this screen on the DS200, and if they've got 5 contests that they've overvoted, it's going to list all 5 contests for them on the screen. See, where our competitors and the M100 today can't do that. They'd have to do some type of scrolling or something else. We'll be able to populate it on our screen.
Thank you.
This is digital.
Digital images.
Yep.
And what's the cost of a digital ballot as compared to the optical?
Actually, the cost for digital scan ballots is less than, because the requirements for, I'm only speaking on our equipment, for tolerances, registration. It fully opens up the production of digitally produced ballots on, for example, high-speed duplicators.
So
copiers.
how expensive is the digital ballot?
In the state of Florida, where we've installed this, we're quoting prices as low as in the low 20s if you're printing with ES&S.
So that's roughly half?
It depends where you are in the country. It can be even less than that. I mean, some people are paying upwards of 50, 60 cents a ballot in some part of the country. In Ohio, I think the going rate has been right around the 32 to 35 cent range. So they will be, should be, depending on your vendor selection, you know, in the mid-20s or lower 20s. And as we go forward, even less.
Another nice thing about the DS200, now we'll be able to take the USB drive, take it into the software, pull up a report that'll show all the digital write-in votes for it in one file. We don't have to sit there and go through all the ballots. We can also pull up a ballot that's been overvoted to look at it on screen, so you aren't looking through all the ballots. You got a lot of good.
Yeah, all adjudication would be done online.
Online.
Okay, thank you very much.
Really quick, your names for the gentleman in the blue and the gray?
Craig.
Craig.
Yeah, C-R-A-I-G.
Last name?
Seibert, S as in Sam, E-I, B as in boy, E-R-T.
Thank you. And your
Jerry Amick, A-M-I-C-K.
Chair of the Ohio Board of Voting Machine Examiners, I had occasion to see this equipment demonstration. So I didn't want anybody to think, you know, I was disinterested or anything. To address some of the findings, we've talked a lot about, you know, the process of taking the votes. We haven't really talked about tabulation that much. And to the extent that there were security issues and other issues raised relative to the integrity of the vote, the problems with tabulation. Could you just maybe briefly, I know this is a big lob I'm giving you here, but I think we would be remiss if we didn't at least ask each vendor and ask you to address how you might be responding to the adverse findings. Thank you.
Absolutely. What we have done as part of the software that's in certification as we speak with the EAC, a number of the different concerns presented in the Everest report are being addressed in that what we call Unity version 4.x that is currently at the EAC now under review for certification.
But nothing's being done actually with this. I mean, I understand product development will address, the next generation will address some of those issues, but is there anything being done with the current equipment that's certified?
With the current Model 100?
Yeah.
From a hardware perspective, no, because the issues presented in the Everest report really weren't hardware related. They were more a firmware or software related, type issue to be addressed. You know, as you mentioned, in that tabulation type world that can be addressed through the software that you make.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. We have our next